want to welcome everybody to this week um, show Crew Justice. I know everybody missed me because we had tried to go to Instagram, which I love my Facebook fans, so I had to bring it back. Um, I want to say today is a very interesting show. It's a show that we want to get out to everyone to, and I want everybody watching this today to share, to do your own watch party or whatever it is. Let's see if we can get the viewing up higher, not just to make me popular because I'm already there, but to get this information out because this young man really needs some help over there and fighting in a state that is very difficult. I know personally they are a state that say they'll do what they're gonna do to help you and then turn around they're not doing anything for you. So I'm not going to even tell you the person name. I'm going to introduce two people. One is the attorney. Her name is Kelley Henry. The second one is Rolanda Holman, the sister. So I'm going to start. Excuse me. I'm going to start with Rolanda. And I'm going to let you explain to people who you are and why you're here today.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Herman. I always appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of my brother. So thank you for giving Kelly and I this opportunity. And I often say I am his voice. So it is always a blessing to be able to speak on his behalf. So I am Purvis's youngest sister. My name is Rolanda. And when my brother first got in this trouble, I was young. I was 13 years old. But I remember us having so many great times together as we were growing up. And, it's unfortunately that a lot of our times we've had spent while he's been incarcerated, but still we have had to make some memories in our own way. I would like to start off by saying that we were raised in a very loving home. My father was a pastor. He still pastors to this day. My mom. And sometimes when you say you're in a family that the father's in the home, but the father wasn't present. Well, my dad was in the home and he was present. He was so present until when we would act up sometimes, my mother would say, I'm going to tell your father. And that was something that we didn't want her to do because we didn't want dad to know that we were misbehaving or being disobedient in some type of way towards her. So never needless to say that his presence was definitely felt in our home. So I'm grateful for this opportunity because I love the theme saying cruel, what is it? A cruel justice. I love that theme. And because when we started this journey, with him, I didn't realize that justice was going to be a fight. And I didn't realize that justice was a hard fight. And I'm learning how hard it is to fight for justice. And I have said this before, and I'll continue to say that justice should not be something that we should fight so hard for. I mean, justice, what it means to just do right, just do the right thing. If people would just do the right thing, we wouldn't be here talking today. But unfortunately, there have been some injustices that have crept in and that has caused such a hurt and a pain in many of our lives. And I can say that for my family and our lives as well. So, looking back on this journey, it's been a long journey for us. And we have, when I first started looking into my brother's case, I was actually in college. And growing up, my mother kind of sheltered us to not really let us know what was all that was going on with him because we were young. And my mother would say every year, Purvis is coming home this year. Around Christmas time, she would say, next year he's coming home. And when she would say those things, I would expect him to come. But then one day I realized that Bubba's not home. So if you haven't been on a Zoom with me, you know that I call him Bubba. I've been calling him Bubba since I was 2 years old. So if I say Bubba, I'm talking about Purvis. That's just my affectionate name that I give to him and still call him that to this day. And so He she would say he wasn't coming home, and I thought, Bubba's not home yet. There's somebody needs to look into this. Something's not right. So when I went to college, I came to college, near him, maybe 30 minutes outside of where he is. And he and I began to delve really close into his case. And I was the devil's advocate. I asked him so many questions, and his story never changed. Not not that his story had to change, because we already knew that this could not have been him. They could have said Bubba stole a piece of candy, and we would have said, "What? No, this is not him. He wouldn't do anything like that." But murder was something that we would never have thought that, that this couldn't be happened. We never would have thought in a million years that he would be convicted of something like this. And I believe that character follows you everywhere that you go. And since he's been incarcerated, he's never had any issues, any problems. He's never been into any fights, any type of altercations, never been written up for anything, because it's his character. His character is not what he has been convicted of, and that is murder of a lady and her child, and attempted murder for another one of her children. And so, I often say this is that there are three things that the victim's family and my family share, and that is we were both lied to, manipulated, and deceived by this criminal justice system. And so, when I think about that, and when I fight hard, I fight not only for my family, but I fight for their family as well, because as long as they have Pervis Payne behind bars, justice has not been served. And so I'm grateful for the Kelley Henrys. I know there are many good lawyers on this side of heaven, but I tell you, she is a general and a giant, and I do appreciate her for being such a team player, and her expertise that she has brought to this case. And I know she'll tell you a little bit more about it. Sometimes I do feel like I'm a lawyer, but I will give that to the person who went to school for it, okay? To allow her to speak more intelligently about it. But I believe that with all my heart that my brother is innocent, and I think that when you fight for justice, you have to fight for people have to feel justice, people have to see it, and they have to believe in it. And when you believe in something, you fight hard for it. So that's why we're here, and that's why we've been fighting. Kelley, I think we've joined together forces maybe since 2019, and we've been hitting it hard ever since, and bringing more awareness to just the different type of prosecutorial misconducts, different things that have been wrongfully done in his case. And you have to be able to make some noise if you want to make some changes. Justice is not going to come quietly, but it's going to come when you make some noise. So the movement that we've created, and we're trying to create, and we have created, we're doing extremely well, is by making the noise to let people know that we're fighting for justice, for a just cause, and that's the innocence of my brother Pervis Payne.
A lot of people don't understand. One of the things about dealing with these cases is that it's two sides to family. Each victim has a family, and the victim that's being incarcerated has a family.
Mhm.
And the thing about it is that here we put the cases in front of what should be a jury of our peers, and those same peers are the ones in society that feel like just because that person sit on the other side of that desk and he's arrested for it, that he's whatever the state they don't need to hear, he's guilty.
Mhm.
It's very rare that we do really have um, it in our system now where you're innocent until they're proven guilty. It's
Mhm.
always the vice versa way with the state knowing that they have a bad case, we still pursue it to take advantage of the people in society, because people in society, they don't, half of them don't even understand what it means by beyond a reasonable doubt.
Mhm.
And even though they have the right to ask questions about evidence and things like that, they fail to do so. They fail to ask, is this evidence concrete, or is this evidence, they don't give they just take it at hand, and then they judge and is guilty. And now an innocent person is facing execution.
Mhm.
And I can remember that day in court when they said, "We, the people of the state of Florida, hereby sentence you to die by lethal injection." At first, I thought that was just a saying that the judge has written and familiarized himself as a procedure to say. But in actuality, it is the people of that state that actually sentenced me to die by lethal injection, because it was the peers that were selected in that jury of
Mhm.
members of society that's representing society. And what we need here is a change in those that's taking jury duty, so that we don't get into this bad level way. We have to rely on appeals and post-conviction release. And then we have to hand the problem over to people such as Ms. Kelley Henry here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Mhm.
Well, Herman, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak about Pervis's case. And let me just say, I'm so sorry for what happened to you and your wrongful incarceration. And I am blessed and honored and humbled to be able to speak with you here tonight. And I hope someday that Pervis Payne will be on the show with you talking about his freedom. And that is our goal, which is his freedom.
Mhm.
I am Kelley Henry, and I am an attorney who has represented people on death row
Mhm.
for 30 years. And I am somebody who um, works really hard for my clients. I was a lawyer. You mentioned the trials and beyond reasonable doubt, Herman. It made me think, when I was a trial lawyer before I started representing people who were sentenced. And juries can get real excited about beyond a reasonable doubt until there are bad facts. And when there are bad facts, the more gruesome they are, the less burden they put on the prosecution. And that's when your defense lawyer is your only weapon against a wrongful conviction. And Purvis didn't have that weapon. He didn't have any weapons to fight. We say in this case that racism plus intellectual disability resulted in a wrongful conviction. And let me tell you a little bit about that. And before I do, let me tell you about the first time I met Pervis. The first time I met Pervis Payne was in March of 2000. He was the porter on the row in Unit 2. And so he had, and still has to this day, more freedom than any of the other inmates. Why is that? Because the corrections officers know he's not a threat. He has the best record of anyone in the prison. But he would always just, say, "Hi, Kelley." He'd be very polite. He'd open a door. He never tried to interrupt a meeting that I would have with another client. He was always respectful. I would hear people say, "Pervis is such a good guy," and he is a good guy, but he had other lawyers. It never occurred to me that this man who was being so kind to me and so sweet and taking care of my other client, Charles Wright, when Charles got very ill, was innocent. I didn't I didn't think that could possibly be true until 2019, when I became his lawyer. And I looked at his case and I looked at his file. And I knew before I even went out to talk with him about the facts of the crime that he was innocent. And I say that as somebody who will love a client no matter what. I will fight like crazy for a client who is guilty, but I won't stand up and say someone is innocent if they're not. It doesn't help them, and it won't save them.
Mhm.
And if you follow me on Instagram at Kelley J. Henry, 2 E's in the Kelley, you'll see that. You'll see that I have fought for clients who I knew were good for the case. And the last client I represented, a woman named Lisa Montgomery, provides a really good analogy to how I know that Pervis is innocent. You see, Pervis is convicted of not just the murder of this woman and her child and the attempted murder of her son, but for a brutal murder, a murder that involved over 800 stab wounds. And as someone who studies criminal law and sociology, you know that someone who commits a crime like that is going to have a certain history in their background. This isn't a person who got caught up in a robbery of a MAPCO or something like that and something just went wrong. If you commit a crime like this, if you can literally gut a woman and her children, you're going to have a history in your background of mental illness. You're going to have abandonment, severe poverty, malnutrition, trauma, educational issues. I mean, the whole gambit. And that's mostly what I do when I look at my clients' cases is I study those factors. And when I looked into Pervis's case, I saw none of those factors were there. Now, my client, Lisa Montgomery, also convicted of a horrendous murder. She had all those things in her background. I loved her deeply, and I understood how she got to where she got. But Pervis, he couldn't have committed this crime. I knew that just from knowing. He wasn't violent before. He didn't use drugs before. And then we get into the facts of the case. When I get a case, I look at it as if I'm the trial lawyer. I look at the police reports first. I don't even want to see the testimony. I want to think about what doesn't make sense here. Why, what is wrong with this picture? And from the very beginning, things just did not add up. Now, we know, of course, that Shelby County, Tennessee is the county with the history of the most lynchings in our country. And we know that the death penalty is a modern day lynching. And that's exactly what's happening here with Pervis Payne. So we know that with a white victim, the chances of an actual death sentence go up astronomically. And when you add to that the racism of this town and the racism of this tiny police department in Millington, Tennessee, the deck was so stacked against Pervis. And what's interesting about that, and one of my first red flags when I was looking at the file, is they didn't call in any extra resources. Now, that's unusual. In a crime like this with a tiny police force, they're going to call in TBI, which is the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, or they're going to call in the Shelby County Sheriff because they're going to need help to process the crime scene. They don't have the experience to do so. Yet they kept everything very close, very tight. Why do people keep things close and tight? Because they want to keep their secrets. The more people that are involved, the harder it is to keep your secrets. So that was red flag number one. Red flag number two is that the police officer who was allegedly the first one on the scene claimed that Pervis said to him, they encountered each other. Pervis ran from the scene when he saw the police officer arrive, realizing that being the only one there and being Black, he was going to be blamed for the crime. This police officer claimed that Pervis said to him, "I am the complainant." And he stuck by that testimony. He said that that was an exact quote, that he wasn't paraphrasing. Well, as you've heard, Pervis has an intellectual disability. Now, even I wouldn't say I'm the complainant. But a person with an intellectual disability, and in fact, Rolanda's talked about this before, how she went out to him and asked him to define complainant, and he couldn't. There's no way in the world Pervis said that. So why is this cop lying? Why is he lying about that? Because you know he is. And as soon as you know he's lying, then the rest of the investigation is suspect. And then some of the witnesses who become the key witnesses about Pervis don't come up with their facts for 2 days after he's been arrested and his picture has been on the TV and the newspapers. And you look at that through the police reports, you see, wait a minute, this report is dated July 29th, but the murder happened on July 27th. You don't mean to tell me that you wait 2 days before you're interviewing the quote unquote eyewitnesses to the murder. That's crazy. What's up with that? This woman was, as we said, she fought. She fought for her kids and she fought for her life. And she had 80 stab wounds on her body. Her fingernails were so tore up that one of them was cut almost back to the quick. Yet the pictures of Pervis showed no scratches on his body. That is impossible. Now later, at trial, they would claim that stretch marks on Pervis's shoulder that are visible in a booking photo were evidence of scratch marks. He has those stretch marks to this day. He was very built back then. He worked out a lot. He was very muscular. Those were stretch marks. Those were not scratches. He even showed them to the jury. So, no scratch marks on this man. Where are the pictures? Well, according to the police officers, they didn't have a color camera in 1987 in Millington, Tennessee. So they had to borrow their chief's camera. And then they say, well, when we took it to the camera store to have the film developed, we realized we didn't put film in the camera. Well, that's just a lie. I'm sorry. We all know how those color cameras worked. You would have to advance it to get to the next exposure. And you were always looking, how many shots do I have? It's not like today when you just take 1,000 shots and don't even care because, every photo was precious. It's just, that's a lie. Why are they lying? Why are they lying? One of the things about the case that really bothers me that I learned, not from the police reports, but from talking to Rolanda, is that on the night of his arrest, his mother begged the police officers to test him for drugs. She went to the police department. She believed in her son. She knew he couldn't have committed this crime. And she said, if you think he did it, test him for drugs. Do it right now. And every single one of us knows if a police officer thinks that you're on drugs, they're going to test you. It's evidence of guilt. There's no way they're going to let that evidence of guilt go away. I have never heard of another situation where a mother and a defendant were saying, test me for drugs, and the police refused. Exculpatory evidence was lost forever that night. And that was Bernice Payne's last chance to really have a voice for her son. This family has been ignored, marginalized, condescended to for far too long. And I feel it so strongly that I want to be the voice for this family and be the voice for Bernice, who fought for her son, because I have two boys, 20 and 22. And I know, I started to curse, darn well, that if I showed up and said, test my son, there wouldn't be any argument. They'd test my son. And that's not fair. That's not right. There are two systems of justice in this country, and it's not right. And this case is an opportunity to raise that up. So what are the other inconsistencies? I talked about the drugs that Bernice Payne, she asked for the drug testing. And then 2 weeks before trial, the prosecutor allegedly asked for a piece of paper that they allegedly took out of Pervis's pocket. This was a red flag to me. Why? Because 2 weeks later, that paper was gone. It had disappeared. They didn't have it at the time of trial. And the witnesses were inconsistent in the way they described that piece of paper. One person said it was white. One person said it was blue. They described it as different colors. One person said it went to the TBI before it went to the West Tennessee Regional Crime Lab. One person said, no, it just went from Millington Police Department to the Regional Crime Lab and didn't make a stop at the TBI. Well, get your story straight. If your stories aren't straight and this just happened in 2 weeks' time, that's a problem. They don't take a photograph of it in evidence. They don't take a photograph of it before they test it. They have no explanation, no chain of custody, and that becomes a theme in this case. Lost evidence, vanishing evidence, over and over and over again. But the prosecution used that shady testimony to argue that Pervis was some super predator, that he was hopped up on drugs, and that he was looking for sex, and he wanted himself a white woman, and when she refused, he killed her and her children. Well, anyone in Pervis Payne's church would tell you he would never hurt a child. The children in that church loved him. He grew up in that church, and the kids flocked to him. He couldn't possibly hurt a child. Oh, but I left out another point. The whole he was looking for sex thing comes from testimony that the DA frankly falsified. They had his cousin, Sylvester Robinson, I'm trying to call him Sylvester Stallone, Sylvester Robinson, on the witness stand. And Sylvester had been with Pervis that day. They'd been hanging out. And they'd been looking at a magazine. And Sylvester was scared. He was a kid on the witness stand with this very intimidating bully of a prosecutor. And he couldn't remember the name of the magazine. So he said, I think it was a Playbook. Well, the prosecutor took that and made it Playboy. And what you need to know is that in Memphis, in the commercial appeal, there's a magazine that's like a purple magazine, like you see in a lot of papers, that's called Playbook. He was trying to think of Jet magazine because that was what they were looking at. And I have a copy of that particular issue because I ordered it off of Amazon. You know, Eddie Murphy was on the cover. And there was no pornography in Jet magazine. There was always a girl in a bikini in the middle, and she was black. But the prosecutor wanted this to be a white woman. So he had to argue it was Playboy. And that's just some of the insidious ways in which he injected race into this case. He even argued about the Pervis's dark hand and the victim's white skin in order to inflame the jury to convict him and sentence him to death. I looked at all of that and I knew I had an innocent client on my hand. And then I met Rolanda and her dad, and their family. And they have changed my life. They have absolutely changed my life. To see a family like this who has stood by their brother, their son for 34 years, it's just amazing. Their strength in him and their belief in him and their strength and belief in God, which allows them to get up and get out of bed every morning and have that beautiful smile on their face. We were together last weekend and Carl Payne said to a group that we were working on a project, said, I'm not going to die until Pervis comes home. That just broke my heart. It just broke my heart because I want him to be alive for a long time after Pervis comes home. And it made me think of all the Christmases, all the birthdays, the graduations, the births that Pervis has missed out on because of what happened to him at trial through no fault of his own, because he has an intellectual disability. He could not fight for himself. And the justice system is systemically racist and would not fight for this young man. When we got the case, my team and I, we went to the Innocence Project and we said, please take this case. I knew Barry Scheck from another case. They came in, they took the case with us. We went into court in Shelby County last year and we said, we want DNA evidence and we want to test everything. And we want to test the vaginal swabs, we want to test the clothing, we want to test the murder weapon, and we want to test the fingernail scrapings because we knew that there were the DNA from the perpetrator would be under her fingernails. On July 29th, 2020, the Shelby County DA represented in court that the fingernail scrapings exist. On September 1st, 2020, the Shelby County DA said they had no idea where they were. And no one has ever made them explain what happened. They have not produced a single photograph, a chain of custody, an explanation, a witness, didn't even tell us where they were on July 29th. And we subpoenaed everybody to court. And these fingernail scrapings have just vanished into thin air. We need clemency for Pervis Payne. Vanishing evidence is not the kind of case where you execute a man. And when evidence vanishes like this, you know that something low down and dirty is going on. So thank you so much. And I know I talk a lot. I know I've gone on for a long time, Herman. Thank you for this opportunity. I love this man.
Hey, it has to get out. So you see, I didn't want to interrupt you. I mean, I'm listening and I'm like myself, like how, because I just recently took a private investigator class and got certified. And one of the main things that they say is the most important thing is the chain of command of evidence and how evidence are handled. You can get actually in trouble with your license for handling evidence. And then here it is, the state, I guess because we're working with the public, the state can do this, hey, they the state, they can do this. And they don't even know where it is. Now, I know this is crazy, but with all these, okay, when they say they're dealing with circumstantial evidence, they stack interferences on interference to reach a determination whether the person has committed the crime or not. Here we have the opposite. We have the stack of missing evidence and proper evidence. It's so much stacking up to show that this person is innocent. And it's like, we cannot get in to reverse this. And this is a man's life. And I don't understand how people in a public office, especially elected officials, can sit with that. I don't understand how people in society can vote for people that can sit with them, sit with this type of conscience, and it's just crazy. Rolanda, what you want to add to this? I mean, you have to be going through it because you're the closest. It's I know it's a very traumatic situation, very difficult situation, but I see you smiling. You're smiling, you're strong, and you're calm about it. But most family members don't understand this type of situation.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to even ask that. I was going to ask you, describe your feelings about the people involved in this. This state, the governor. Are you really bitter? It don't seem like you're bitter at them. You're just wanting them to correct this.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel that there's never a wrong time to tell the truth. I think timing is everything. And I think that when if it's been 30, of course it's been 34 years, there is still an opportunity for someone to right their wrong. And that's just how I feel about it. Many times I have been frustrated. I think I've become even more frustrated as the more I get involved. And and Kelley and I are speaking and we're talking about certain things, and as they're doing certain investigations and coming up a lot of information that we know of, especially like she just shared when we were doing trying to get the preparing for the DNA hearing. So those types of things are very, very frustrating. It's something that we always knew, but now that what she's explained of what we now know for sure, it's it's very disheartening to know that someone would rather have a check by their name to say, I've done this and I've done that, or maybe to get an additional award for the tally of many times that they have won a case. I don't think people in these positions in high authority, such as the district attorney's offices or the governors, I don't think they realize the impact that it does have on families like mine. I was able to listen to your your interview with the Jones family, with Cece and with Antoinette. And so many times I've listened to them and I can empathize and I can sympathize because, I too, my family, we are walking that same path as they are walking. So it gets frustrating to know that, to see how a lie can be so deceptive and how a lie can get to the point to where it destroys the families. As Kelley was saying, or it may have been you, about the many Christmases that have been missed, the births that he's missed. And I don't think people realize the detriment that when misconduct has happened to an innocent person, that it causes not only for Purvis himself, but also for his family too. I look at him and I say, he's lost his mom, he's lost his sister, all of his grandparents are gone. And I tell him, I say, well, listen, I said, me, dad and I are going to be here. I said, when you come home, I said, we are going to be here, waiting for you. And what has kept us going is we have a strong faith. We do. We believe. And I believe that hope is something that carries us far beyond what our minds could ever conceive. And when we get a little discouraged, and there have been many times that over the course of the 33 years that we have been discouraged, we've had some highs and lows. We've you know come through, I think, about 3 execution dates now. And I look at it like this, for those who are believing, who look at me, one for the Father, one for the Son, and one for the Holy Spirit. We've come through three of them. So we just, so other words, we learn how to lean on what gives us strength. And I often say that when you're going through a tragedy like this, you have to have something to hold on to, regardless if you're, for us, it's our faith. For someone else, it may not be their faith, but you really have to have something to hold on to, because if you don't, it is something that really could disrupt and destroy your spirit. So, I for though how I feel about those, going back to your question, who have the authority to make the decision regarding my brother, it's never too late to right your wrong. If you wrote your wrong today, if they told us where the clippings were, Kelley, we're running, right? I
Right.
mean, we're coming fast, and I think I'll be so happy to know about that until it may, like there's a song that say, my good days outweigh my bad days. So I think that's that the happiness of that good day would just make such an impact to where we would probably forget all about the 34 years at that moment, because we know the truth has come. My dad has a statement that he says that a lie has wings and the truth has legs. A lie will travel much faster than the truth, but once the truth arrives, it can stand on its own. So we're still expecting the truth to come. I believe in the word of God when it says that the truth shall set you free. And Bubba has told the truth since day one. We thought, Herman, that, my mother said, I never forget when she came home from the Millington Police Department. She said, he'll be home by the end of the week. She said, Pervis is telling the truth and he's going to tell the truth, and they'll realize that and he'll be home. And it's 34 years later and he's still telling his truth, but he's yet incarcerated behind those doors. So, we're here. And as I said earlier, justice has a voice, and we are crying loud and we are roaring and we are believing that our voice is being heard. And we have over 700,000 signatures that is supporting us as well, that's telling us that our voice is being heard. And so um, I definitely model what CC Jones Davis is doing for Julius Jones. And, and when I first talked to her, when this happened, a dear friend of mine introduced us, and I wanted to know, how did you create this movement? How did you do it? And she gave me some pointers, and we just began to put our minds and our ideas together. And here we are. And I've seen many breakthroughs, and I know Kelley can attest to this as well. So, it's never too late to do what's right. And that's what I have hope to believe, that it's never too late to do what's right. I don't, Herman, I'm so busy fighting. I'm so busy being focused on that until I don't have time to be bitter. So when you bite my apple, when you bite into my apple, you won't get a worm. You won't get a rotten spot, but my apple is going to be good all the way through. So I don't have the time to focus on bitterness, because I'm looking at what's before me. And I think what I'm seeing before me is far greater than what I've come from behind. So I'm focused, and I can smile, and my smile is pure and it's authentic, because we have tried so many years to be where we are today. So that tells me that we have a long ways to go, but we're not where we were. And to me, that brings hope. And it tells me that, we're heading into the right direction.
This next question is a question for both of you. Question for both of you. Going through this fight, you have to have the right tools. Affiliated with a lot of different organizations in this partnership with a lot of different organizations, and a lot of organizations will share this video out on their Facebook page, and they do discuss it with me. I'd be surprised when people tell me they don't view my shows. Sometimes I feel like nobody's watching, but it is. So I feel like we need to keep it going. Now this question is for you to answer to the viewers. What can people do to help, and what is it that you need from the people, other organizations right now to strengthen this fight?
We need people to text Team Payne to 52886 and sign the petition. If you don't want to text, go to pervispayne.org and sign our petition. We have set a goal to get to 1 million. That's step one. Step two is to email Governor Lee, bill.lee@tn.gov. Let him know that you support clemency for Pervis Payne.
Mhm.
The third thing you can do is post as much as possible about his case
Mhm.
on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. Go and find some of the articles that have been written about the case and, circulate them again. You can look on my Twitter feed, again, at Kelley J. Henry, and retweet some of the articles about the case so that they reach a greater audience, to say his name and get that publicity out there. Talk about him.
Mhm.
Talk about him in your churches, in your church circles, in your book clubs, at your gyms, at the coffee shop. Let people know about this case and drive them to pervispayne.org, or again, text Team Payne to 52886.
Mhm.
Also, we have t-shirts, and soon, I think as of Monday, we'll have face masks, free Pervis Payne, that's available on Bonfire under free Pervis Payne, that the Innocence Project set up for us. What else, Rolanda?
So it is a website that they can go to and find more information about it.
Pervispayne.org. And I'll put it in, the chat doesn't go up on Facebook, does it? Pervispayne.org.
Mhm.
Or just go to Innocence Project and you can navigate to his page.
Mhm.
Chloe, is it possible that we can put this on our comments? I mean, I'm on comments, but it only reflect my show.
Chloe's got us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm telling you, I love my staff. They're the bomb. What do you say, Rolanda?
Yeah, I think everything that Kelley said, yes. If you want to write a letter, write a letter to him. You can do that also. And I say educate yourself about his case. I truly believe, Herman, that when you believe in something, you go after it and you fight hard. And the more you educate yourself about his case and about everything that Kelley has said, is out there. Like everything that she's mentioned, like she says on her Twitter feed, it's on my Twitter feed. I try to, if she posts something before me, I try to, share that as well. Educate yourself about it, and then you will know why you're fighting. When you know why you're fighting, you fight even harder, and you get other people to come along with you and fight also. We believe that we will get that 1 million. We believe that. We were amazed to be able to have over 700,000 signatures, and we believe that we're definitely on that way to 1 million. And the more awareness that we're able to bring to his case, so that's why I thank you so much for allowing us to have your platform and share your platform with us for this time, to be able to bring that awareness. And I think people should know that every person that is incarcerated, if you ever question a person, as everyone is incarcerated, committed to crime, I can tell you, no, they did not, because I know for a fact that they have one that has spent his life behind prison bars, and that is my brother Pervis Payne. So, I just believe that we can do this. The more we bring forth awareness, then the more opportunity we have to bring him on this side.
And I just want to add to that. You say, but if they actually look right now, it is recorded, I think, 182 in the United States. Then we have Florida, that leads the nation with 30 death row exonerations since 1976. So the information is out there that this type of things do happen,
Mhm.
and they convict the wrong person
Mhm.
and set that person on death row. And the bad thing about it is that It takes years and years, and so many people are fighting to correct what the state should step up and say, hey, we made that mistake. As Rolanda said, let the truth be out. And it's easy for a state attorney to do that. And you know, the state attorney will get more popular votes by stepping up and telling the truth and letting an innocent person go out than convicting a wrong person and just going to sleep.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Herman. And you know, for every execution that has been carried out in this country, for every 4 executions that has been carried out, 1 person has been exonerated from death row. You know, that is an astonishing statistic. And Pervis Payne is one of those innocent people on death row.
My staff only allow me 30 to 45 minutes, so I have to end this show. But anytime that, you know, we want, if you keep in touch with me, tell me updates or things that need to go on, you send me an email before my next show. I'll make sure I take time out to mention those things and tell what the progress is and what we need to do. Is if I myself or witness innocent can be any help with you guys, please reach out to us. And I thank y'all for having y'all on my show. And Rolanda, you have a beautiful smile. Beautiful smile. So keep that smile in, because you know it's great. It shows you got great strength and that you got great faith, and that's what a lot of us in America lack. You know, that great faith and spirit, and we can eliminate a lot of this. So with that being said, I would like to thank all of you for joining us on this week. And you know, like I said, if there's anything we can do, please feel free to reach out to us. And yes, I do want to say a special shout out to CC with Julius Jones' case. She's doing a wonderful job. I tell her that all the time, and she's an amazing person, strong. And you know, they always say how we have these strong women now in the U.S. in the work field, but we have strong women in that battlefield, period. You know, and they making headways, and I hope my friends that represent justice pick this up and share it, and we're gonna do what we can do, share that link so we can get that 1 million.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Talk to you later. Thank you.